Hello, everybody. David Shuster here. The news is not always as it seems. So, while it's technically true that special counsel Jack Smith killed the 2020 election interference case against Donald Trump, Smith and the judge in that case did something that actually preserves the case for a resurrection in 4 years. More on that in a moment. First, here is how the story broke on NBC News.
We're coming on the air with breaking news about President-elect Donald Trump. The Justice Department special counsel Jack Smith just filed a motion to dismiss the federal criminal case against the president-elect over his efforts to overturn the 2020 election results. The news comes after NBC News learned the Justice Department had been planning to wind down its federal cases against Mr. Trump. It also comes as NBC News learned that Smith and his team plan to resign before Mr. Trump returns to the White House.
All of that is true, but the real news here is that Smith requested the case be dismissed without prejudice. That's a legal term that preserves the ability to revive the case in the future, like when Donald Trump leaves office in 2029. When Donald Trump won this 2024 election, we knew the cases would at least be put on hold. The Justice Department's own rules do not allow prosecution of a sitting president, and Trump could have ordered the Justice Department to kill the cases the moment he took the oath of office on January 20th, 2025. So Jack Smith had three options. One, Smith could have waited for Donald Trump and the Trump Justice Department to fire the special counsel and kill the case. Or two, Smith could have requested the case be dismissed with prejudice, which means the case is so unsound it must die. Or three, Smith requested, as he did, a dismissal without prejudice, which means the case is sound and can be revived by another prosecutor in the future. There is nothing in Jack Smith's filing or the Department of Justice rules or the Supreme Court's ruling on presidential immunity or the judge's acceptance of Smith's filing that bars a future prosecution. What Jack Smith did was the best and only way to remove the cases from Donald Trump's reach. He essentially hibernated them. Donald Trump cannot kill the presidency stealing case now because it doesn't exist. But future prosecutors are free to upload the case when Donald Trump leaves office. Trump and his spokesperson mentioned none of that in their reaction to the Smith filing.
He says the American people reelected President Trump with an overwhelming mandate to make America great again. Today's decision by the DOJ ends the unconstitutional federal cases against President Trump and is a major victory for the rule of law. He goes on to say that the American people and President Trump want an immediate end to the political weaponization of our justice system, and we look forward to uniting our country. So again, that statement coming from Trump Communications Director Stephen Chung.
Now, when Chung and others in MAGA world start to understand the fine print of Smith's filing and the judge's ruling, the Trump team may come up with a strategy that goes something like this. Trump's Attorney General Pam Bondi will have the Department of Justice refile the Trump charges so the DOJ can dismiss them with prejudice. But in order to do that, you would have to get a federal grand jury to go along with the scheme, and a judge would have to sign off. Neither are sure things. Also, such a move would shatter the Justice Department's precedent of presidential immunity. So Jack Smith has essentially put the Trump case on ice, but he has done it in such a way so that it can be heated up and revived. As my friends at the effing news put it, and for all of you who are fans of Star Wars, it's kind of like what Darth Vader did to Obi-Wan Kenobi. The death was not permanent, without giving away too much. However, it is true that Donald Trump is getting away with his alleged crimes at least for a few more years. And so the Democratic outrage is understandable.
I think it is a shame for justice in this country. It establishes that Donald Trump is above the law. The Supreme Court put him above the law in that opinion that Paula just mentioned. But now he appears to escape full accountability for what were crimes charged by a grand jury.
Indeed. And what's going on in the United States stands in contrast to how another democracy, Brazil, is approaching a criminal case against their former right-wing leader accused of inspiring an attempted coup.
Brazilian police are accusing former President Jair Bolsonaro and members of his inner circle of attempting a coup after losing the 2022 election. The former right-wing leader denies he tried to cling to power after narrowly losing to his leftist rival. Bolsonaro says he's the victim of a political witch hunt and vows to launch a legal case. 36 others are also suspected of attempting to violently overthrow the democratically elected government.
So the criminal case against Brazil's Bolsonaro is moving forward. The case against his friend Donald Trump is on hold. Of course, Bolsonaro is out of office and Donald Trump is returning to office. And so Donald Trump is getting a reprieve. And while that may be upsetting to many of us, don't let the news media headlines get you down. Donald Trump was going to skate on these cases the moment he won re-election. What special counsel Jack Smith has done is the best of a bad situation. Smith is leaving a prosecution stink bomb that could go off again in 4 years. And it's not beyond the realm of possibility that a Democrat wins the 2028 presidential election and has an attorney general appointed in 2029 who believes, as Jack Smith does, that Donald Trump broke the law and should spend his final years in prison. That is still a possibility. And while it's true that justice delayed is justice denied, the case of the people versus Donald Trump could still come back. By the way, an ethical dispute with the Trump transition team is blocking Donald Trump and his cabinet nominees from getting access to the government.
He's got to sign the agreements that trigger these things. And I think, look,
it's been
part of
2
his
weeks.
problem is he doesn't like, well, he's
Almost
had enough time to name all these people,
Yeah.
but not enough time to sign a piece of paper or to have Linda McMahon or Howard Lutnick sign a piece of paper. Look, here's the thing, John. He doesn't trust the FBI. So he doesn't want the FBI doing these background checks. And by the way,
he wants to vet the FBI, not have the FBI vet.
If I had Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Pete Hegseth with some of those background issues that they have, I wouldn't necessarily want the FBI looking around.
Check out that video at the link below. I'm David Shuster. Thanks for joining us.